So what's your verdict on National Poetry Month? Yay or nay?
Maybe. You do get a little tired of poetry being treated as though it were a brand of soap or an ailing label on a deodorant, and we have to have poetry umbrellas and a poetry jingle and all that. This is a fundamental art.
Well, I think the reason is that people realize in this country that poetry is not treated with the same kind of respect as some other things, and so there's a feeling it needs a little boosting.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say yes, it is. I mean, I did that favorite poem project where you can see those videos at www.favoritepoem.org. And the construction worker reading Whitman and the Cambodian American kid reading Langston Hughes. I didn't make them up. They're not actors. It is not as visible as some things that have a lot of money and numbers behind them. But poetry's, it's like dancing or lovemaking as distinct from procreation or cuisine as distinct from nutrition. Poetry's fundamental, and it doesn't necessarily need missionary work or public relations, in my opinion. If you say aloud, on love, on grief, on every human thing, time sprinkles Lethe's water with his wing, it sounds good. It was written to sound good.
Well, a lot of poetry obviously is written to sound good, but there was a period in American poetry, I would think like the late 50s into the 60s, where poets read in a drone, the Kenneth Koch style, where they almost wrote to undermine the poem.
I know what you mean, Leonard. I've heard it. And maybe it's an attempt to imitate the white page. I'm not sure. But I think it's as I don't much like it, and I don't much like the Hambone way of reading either. Where everything is so. I think there's most people have a good, sensible notion of something in between.
Well, is the experience of rhythm, pauses, cadences, and rhymes richer when we hear a poem?
No question. No question. And again, I would say those videos show that you don't have to be a great expert. Common sense can tell you.
You've organized this book into loose groupings. Can you describe some of them?
Well, I start off with short lines. Figuring if you're not familiar with lines, hearing them frequently, as well as short ones, then it will be instructive. The second set is long lines. And then ballads is a kind of half between form and half content. Love poems. And the last section is called something like parodies, reposts, jokes, and insults. Mm-hmm. So it gets more and more into subject matter. One section is called stories. And the categories are meant to be kind of amusing and useful. But you take a great poem like Eros Turnos, and it's a story, it's a complaint, it's a love poem, it's a ballad. They aren't meant to be hard categories. It's easiest to demonstrate with rhyme. You know, love at the lips was touch as sweet as I could bear, and once that seemed too much, I lived on air that crossed me from sweet things. The flow of, was it musk from hidden grapevine springs downhill at dusk? Or just one more stanza. I had the swirl and ache from sprays of honeysuckle that when they're gathered shake dew on the knuckle. It doesn't make much difference whether shake is a part of an internal rhyme or the end of a rhyme. You hear it. I had the swirl and ache from sprays of honeysuckle that when they're gathered shake dew on the knuckle. And you don't have to say, I had the swirl and ache from sprays of honeysuckle that when they're gathered shake dew on the knuckle. And you don't have to say, I had the swirl and ache from sprays, etc. So I think it's not arcane, it's not weird, it's there, and in a way you have to go to school in order to get it messed up.